Hi, everybody. I'm Norma Chu. I'm the founder and CEO of DDC. I'm an entrepreneur and operator. I've been building this business for about 13 years. I started the company as a content creator, building communities around cooking. And over the years, kind of expanded the business from cooking content to content commerce, and later on going into consumer business. We're listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2023, and we adopted the Bitcoin strategy earlier this year in May. And I just want to share with you like my experience as an operator, and we communicate with the investor community all the time. What I see, how they value having an operating business or not. Earlier this year, when we first launched in go-to-market, I started meeting with a lot of investors. We did our fundraise around June, which was a fantastic time to raise. At that time, we were having a lot of conversation with investors. Nobody cared about whether we had an operating business or what we actually do, which is fair. It was there's always the right time for the right conversation. And then I think right now, in the past 3 months, the market has shifted, especially after August. We see some turns in terms of sentiment, with some MNAV compression. And now when I have conversation with investors and also retail analysts, a lot more attention goes into our underlying business. We're very fortunate. We are growing. We're profitable. We're generating millions of net profits every year. And so I think, analysts and investors now are looking into all these different treasury companies that they can select from, and really thinking about, during different cycles, how do these companies differentiate ourselves and continue to operate, right? If we want to do this, we're definitely in this for the long term, and cycles come and go. We're definitely going to see fund flows coming in and out of this sector. I think when in the scenario where capital markets potentially shut off for a period of time for Bitcoin Treasury companies to raise as easily as they did before, what we can do as an operating company is we continue to operate, continue to grow the business and generate profits. And we can also continue to stack Bitcoin with our free cash flow and also be around for a very long time. So when the market comes back, we can once again raise more money, raise more capital, and continue stacking. So I think, coming back to the main topic for today, in my opinion, I don't think having an operating business is a distraction. It's definitely not even a must, but I think it's a good foundation for a Bitcoin Treasury company.
Sure. Hi, so I'm Dean Callas. I'm the CEO of American Holdco. Many of you in the audience may know me as one of the founders of Next Layer Capital as well. American Holdco is an institutional-grade Bitcoin-backed holding company that acquires Bitcoin and also selectively acquires cash-flowing, durable companies and takes those cash flows and puts it into the balance sheet in Bitcoin. I completely agree with you, Norma. The point of a Bitcoin Treasury company is to always be accumulating Bitcoin, right? And capital markets environments, as a former capital markets banker, as a former tech M&A banker and hedge fund guy, capital markets environments shift from time to time. And you want to be able to continue to buy Bitcoin in that environment when that capital markets window is closed. So if you don't have a strong operating company with durable cash flows, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're going to be sitting there. And I would expect that for some Bitcoin Treasury companies with no underlying operating company, we're going to see consolidation, right? Larger Bitcoin Treasury companies that do maintain a premium are going to acquire Bitcoin Treasury companies that trade, at a discount. And we're already starting to see some trade at a discount. So I think the operating company is not a distraction. It's an advantage, but not all operating companies are created equal, right? So it's important that you have a strong, durable, cash flowing company, high cash flow conversion with minimal leverage.
Thank you, Dean. I'm Jim Dorra from Tractial, CEO. We are a French listed company, a fintech. I've been acting in the payment industry since 20 years. So my point is, of course, that we are not a distraction when we do business. I want to come back to a story of a company. Like they have been doing like 20 years of profit, sometime more than 100 million. And this decided on 2020 to go on Bitcoin. So meet Microstrategy. So I think the foundation, what you say, is the word. You can build on foundation. It's a good point. If you already have operating business, then it's good to leverage on it. And actually, when you have foundations, you can thrive through any kind of cycle. That's the point. I mean, eventually, bear market will arrive, and they're going to be cycle. So at some point, you need to be able to continue accumulating. That will be the good time, actually, to accumulate. If you don't have operating business, at some point, you need to find money to continue operating, or you're going to have to grind your Bitcoin, so which is not good. So I think operating business and having profit can actually fuel during the bad times. I think there's also other points that may look out. So I'm going to talk about a not so fun topic, which is regulation. I have a question that remains open for me, and we are able to answer on our side because we are a financial institution, the first financial institution in Europe to being a BTC Treasury company, which is just starting, by the way. It's how do you differentiate a public company which is leverage money from investor, public, private, to invest in Bitcoin to an actual investment fund? That's a regulation question that is under scrutiny for many regulators. I know that jurisdiction is different. And so I'm going to finish this topic because it's a question which is open and a very hot topic in many places. And I think we have the solution because, I mean, we have been in the payment industry, so it just makes sense to buy Bitcoin. We have the network, we have the reserve. We're going to put everything on the reserve of Bitcoin. So it just seems like the bank of the future. I don't know if it's an insult or not, but that's how we see it. So to conclude, for me, I would say that the real distraction would be for probably operating business, not investing in Bitcoin, ignoring Bitcoins. But also, and it might be a bit controversial, BTC Treasury chasing the bulls and not prepare for the bear market. That's something very important. I don't know if there's any questions.
Maybe I'll add a thought to that. Just be a devil's advocate. So I did say having an operating business is not a distraction. It doesn't have to be a must. It's a good foundation for a Bitcoin Treasury company. But I think there are different types of operating companies out there, like as you mentioned, Dean. One thing is like we're an operator. I run the business for 13 years. You run it for 25 years. But there are other Bitcoin Treasury companies out there where they have a group of investors taking over an existing company, like through an RTO, and then they launch a treasury company business. I think in those scenarios, I won't say it's a distraction, but I think it makes the integration much harder. I'm not sure if you've gone through M&As, Jim, but I've done a couple M&As in my in my career at DDC. I think a lot of ideas sounds really great on paper, and you crunch the numbers, you're like, this is going to be fantastic. But a lot of times with integration, especially with people, where you have crypto investors coming into an operating company, and that operating company can be in healthcare, software, any kind of sector. I think it's the integration of people and culture that's really going to test whether that RTO or their newly launched Bitcoin Treasury company is going to succeed in the long run.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think we're going to start to see more of a focus on quality and credibility of management teams that are running Bitcoin Treasury companies, right? I think the ability and background to do complex M&A transactions, to be capital markets experts, right? To be experts in an underlying industry where you might make an acquisition, to have real operators. Those are the things that are going to differentiate a Bitcoin Treasury company and allow them to navigate markets when they become challenging, right? So I agree with you.
Dean, tell us a little bit more about American Holdco. and your specific plans, because I know you're really thinking, well, maybe not specific, but that M&A side of it, I struggle with that. Because when you look at acquiring a company that their MNAV is over 1.5 or something, why wouldn't you just stay focused on your Bitcoin acquisition strategy and not take on that whole M&A headache?
It's a great question. I'm limited to what I can say publicly around what we're doing. But I think taking a step back and thinking about it philosophically, what you want to be able to do, okay, is you want to be able to acquire cash flow very accretively when, in addition to acquiring Bitcoin, and then you want to be able to, in that M&A transaction, preserve leverage capacity as much as you possibly can so that you have a maximum amount of free cash flow coming into the company and coming into the treasury. Okay. And then what you can do from there is you can obviously lever that free cash flow or utilize that free cash flow to support coupon payments on new credit instruments that I think obviously Mr. Saylor and Matt Cole talked very eloquently about. You can use the cash flow from the company to support the coupon payments on a fixed income instrument, use that fixed instrument proceeds to buy Bitcoin very aggressively. And depending on the underlying company that you're buying and the valuation and the structure of that deal, you're actually creating an ARB on an ARB in a way where you're going to be able to buy more Bitcoin through the M&A and then credit instrument than if you were to just hit an ATM and buy Bitcoin directly with the cash proceeds from the ATM.
Hi, John Tunison of Giga Inc. My question has to do with how you make capital allocation decisions. So when you have free cash flow, how do you make the decision whether to reinvest in your underlying operating business versus buying more Bitcoin?
So I guess the question is the balance of how you're going to invest with your own funds on Bitcoin. Yeah?
Yes, that's correct, with your own operating cash flows.
So the idea is like you want to stick to a strategy. So we have a kind of a smart DCA, and we're trying to look at various parameters, which will be like the cash flow of the company, the underlying business, and also the volatility of the Bitcoin, the opportunity. We mix all that, and that allows us to take some risk, but not inconsiderate risk based on this formula.
Yeah, maybe just to piggyback on that, I think it's actually a relatively simple answer, right? 9 times out of 10, you're going to take the free cash flows and buy Bitcoin or use leverage to buy Bitcoin, right? I think the only cash flow you would potentially allocate to the underlying business is, pure maintenance to make sure that that cash flow can be permanent, right? Or if there is some growth initiative that can beat the hurdle rate of Bitcoin. The reality is that's not going to be true for most businesses. And so the optimal choice from a capital allocation perspective is to allocate to more Bitcoin or leverage for more Bitcoin.
Something I've been asking myself a lot lately is also, when GameStop borrowed all that money and never bought any Bitcoin, but if they would have activated all the apes, what would that have done, for them coming into Bitcoin? What if Waste Management decided to become a Bitcoin treasury company? How many people get excited about trash pickup, right? Norma's clearly got a business with a loyal following. She's got that group already built. The MetaPlanet, it wasn't just the people that stayed at the hotel, right? They were able to activate this other thing. Tim and I get emails all the time, like, hey, we want to become a Bitcoin treasury. What's your underlying business? We do online cosmetics. We really hate it, but we want to get into Bitcoin treasury. And so I'm curious if there's a point at which some of these very popular companies, a Tesla, a GameStop, they have I guess it wouldn't be an unfair advantage, but they would have an advantage in that they have an already activated investor base. That part of the underlying business gives them a definite advantage in executing the treasury strategy.
I think that's fair, but I'll take the flip side of the argument. I'll take the Waste Management example. That's an awesome company, right? they are permanent. Trash pickup is going to happen every single day. For me, it's Mondays and it's Thursdays, right? That is a permanent cash flow stream that you can use as an annuity to buy Bitcoin, or again, to support coupon payments to buy more Bitcoin with leverage. So I think that's the perfect type of business that should really be Bitcoinized, right? And I think we'll continue to see, as time progresses and we see hyper Bitcoinization, companies like that wind up adopting a Bitcoin Treasury strategy or be acquired by a established, scaled Bitcoin Treasury company, right? If you look at, let's say, the private equity industry, which is over 10 trillion of assets, right? 3.5 trillion of unrealized AUM on their balance sheets. These are a bunch of private cash flowing companies that were acquired at zero interest rates, and they're stuck in these private equity portfolios, right? What are those private equity firms going to do with those portfolio companies? What they really should do to enhance the return profile is buy Bitcoin, right? Or sell them to a Bitcoin Treasury company and take stock. So I think that boring old niche businesses that have reliable cash flows are a perfect vessel to basically create a Bitcoin mining machine. It's financial mining of Bitcoin.
Well, I think also, like, Ed, the ultimate vision and North Star here is that every single listed company, private company, ultimately becomes a Bitcoin Treasury company, and they will all have Bitcoin on their balance sheets. I think for us right now, there's still advantage because, like Michael said, we are in year one. I think our advantage is that we are the first movers in the space, and we do welcome more companies to come into this sector, and so it becomes more mature, and we can develop and grow faster together.
Yeah, I guess how I see it, it's like there's like those big companies, they already have a very big operational business. So they might be afraid to jump into Bitcoins and have the stock moving with the Bitcoins. So for smaller operating business, that's a real opportunity because we know that we can fuel with the operating business. We don't need money, and that money can be invested in that strategy. And we are the vehicle of the future. So I guess for big companies, they can compete, but it's not exactly the same strategy that they're going to apply. It's more corporate finance, I would guess.
We'll do one last question. I'll put you on the spot here. Shirish Jajodia of Strategy, in his presentation at Bitcoin for Corporations, I think in Nashville, showed this framework for what kind of companies fit the model, right? And it was no debt, positive cash flow. I'm stumbling on it right now, but it was this criteria that said this is the kind of company, the growth that, and a company that has $150 billion in debt, there's just no point, right? And that's a zombie company. So here on this stage, September 17th, who's your Fortune 100 company? Who's going to be the Fortune 100 company that's going to pull the trigger? Come on, somebody's got to bite. Pick one. Danone? God, they're not even going to bite.
Yeah, what was your pick? I know what your pick was. You told me.
Yeah, Delta Airlines.
Yeah.
Just because I live in Atlanta and I'd love to be able to fly free everywhere. But
It's interesting. I mean, airlines are a tough industry. Maybe Bitcoin saves them.
Michael, who is it? Who's the first Fortune 100 that's going to do it? Yep, that's what I thought you'd say.
I think maybe an interesting one, just maybe to speculate for the sake of it. I think an oil and gas company would be really interesting, right? We're going to continue to, need more oil, need more energy, data centers, AI, et cetera. They have commodity price volatility. If you think about an oil and gas company, they're great cash flowing companies, especially the large ones. So I would think a Fortune 100 oil and gas company might be really interesting. If you think about commodity prices peak, the revenues peak, their cash flows peak, what do they do in that quarter, right? The stock price peaks. What do they do in that quarter? They pay a special dividend of extra cash out, but then they usually also max out their stock buyback program To me, that's like the stupidest capital allocation decision that you could ever make, because you're maxing out your stock buyback at the peak share price. They should take all of those stock buyback dollars and put them into Bitcoin. So that could be pretty interesting.
Anybody want to shout one out? Be on the record? Nope.
I'll say Tesla should be. Elon is getting more.
But Tesla is. Is Tesla a Bitcoin Treasury company? No? If Apple bought one Bitcoin, are they now a Bitcoin Treasury company?
I thought they were on the table.
Thank you guys very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Stampseed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at The Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026 for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to Premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of Premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin Treasury phenomenon.